In a move that is shaking the foundations of post-colonial politics in West Africa, Senegal's newly elected president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has taken bold steps to cut back France's long-standing influence over the country. From renaming streets to removing foreign troops, Faye is leading Senegal down a path of self-determination that mirrors similar moves in countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger.
As French people, could you imagine seeing us in your country with tanks or military vehicles, with Senegalese soldiers in Senegalese uniforms? That's what history has been like. France has enslaved, colonized, and remained.
Welcome to Pulse of Africa channel, your reliable place for real up-to-date news from across Africa. If this is your first time here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you stay updated, informed, and connected to what's really happening from across the continent. Your engagement keeps our voice alive and strong. Disclaimer: the content of this video is based on credible, publicly available information, official statements, and other authentic online materials. It is intended for educational, analytical, and informational purposes only. We do not promote hate, violence, misinformation, or political unrest. Our sole objective is to provide context-rich insight into current affairs, amplify local perspectives, and support informed dialogue across Africa. Since taking office, President Diomaye Faye has balanced diplomacy with a firm desire to reclaim Senegal's sovereignty. His administration has launched a wave of national reforms that are not just political but also cultural, educational, and symbolic. These reforms, though peaceful and measured, signal a clear departure from the lingering grip of French influence. One of the most visible steps in this direction is the renaming of public spaces that still bear the names of French colonial figures. For example, Dakar's famous Boulevard General de Gaulle, named after the French leader who orchestrated France's post-colonial control in Africa, is now facing a name change. Senegalese citizens like local street vendor Matasek argue that these colonial-era names honor individuals who oppressed and exploited their ancestors. To them, such names are painful reminders of a dark history. In response, President Faye created the National Council for Memory and Historical Heritage in December 2024. This council is tasked with overseeing the removal of colonial-era symbols and restoring national pride by celebrating Senegalese and African heroes. The council's mission mirrors similar efforts in Burkina Faso, where President Ibrahim Traoré has renamed streets and institutions after iconic anti-colonial figures such as Thomas Sankara. Beyond symbolism, Faye is targeting the very foundation of national consciousness, which is education. For decades, Senegal's school textbooks have been criticized for presenting Eurocentric views that glorified French rule and downplayed the rich history of Africa before colonization. Under Faye's leadership, the Ministry of Education has begun rewriting school curricula to focus on African perspectives, local achievements, and cultural pride. This effort aligns closely with recent moves in Burkina Faso, where the national anthem was translated into Ponce local languages, directly challenging French linguistic dominance. Faye's goal is similar: to ensure Senegalese students grow up knowing their true history without the filters of colonial distortion. But perhaps the most symbolic and strategic action so far came in November 2024, when President Faye announced that Senegal would no longer host French military bases on its soil. This marked a serious shift in the country's defense policy and signaled a desire for true military sovereignty. This decision was announced shortly after France finally acknowledged the Thiaroye massacre of 1944, an event where French troops killed hundreds of Senegalese soldiers demanding their rightful pay after fighting for France in World War II. France admitted to only 24 deaths, but survivors estimate as many as 300 were killed. For decades, France suppressed this history, banning films and silencing voices that try to speak the truth. Faye's response has been clear: this history must not be forgotten, and foreign military presence must no longer dictate Senegal's security. The Senegalese public has largely welcomed these moves, especially among the youth and civil society groups who have long called for a break from France's neo-colonial grip. Social media platforms are filled with support, pride, and comparisons to leaders like Thomas Sankara and Ibrahim Traoré. However, not everyone is on board. Critics warn that pushing France away could strain economic ties, especially considering how deeply interwoven French companies are in Senegal's energy, infrastructure, and banking sectors. Some political analysts also question whether Senegal can afford to lose the security cooperation that French troops provided, especially in a region still threatened by jihadist groups. International observers are watching closely. Some praise Faye's strategy as a model of peaceful decolonization, while others worry about the potential vacuum left by departing French forces. Meanwhile, France has responded cautiously, choosing to emphasize continued diplomatic dialogue rather than confrontation. Faye's approach differs from the more radical stances taken in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, where leaders expelled not just French troops but also diplomats. Faye maintains open channels with France but insists on redefining the terms of the relationship from one of dependency to mutual respect. Senegal's bold steps under President Diomaye Faye are part of a rising tide across West Africa, a movement to reclaim African identity, history, and control. As the country rewrites its story, it also joins a broader effort to shake off the remnants of France-Afrique and colonial domination. But the question remains, can this new era of sovereignty bring lasting change without destabilizing the present? What do you think? Will Senegal's peaceful rejection of France's dominance inspire more African nations to follow suit? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pulse of Africa for more in-depth coverage of stories that shape the continent's future.